Yo, what's up everyone? Neurofunk basses. I've got a couple of patches that I've put together for this particular session. We've got this one. And then we've got this lovely little techie womp. So let's break down how I put these together, and then you can go and make your own Neurofunk basses. Let's get into it. Yo, what's up guys? Dynamix here, back again with another video for you. So today I'm going to give you a quick rundown on Neurofunk. Now, personal opinion here, but from the era that I come on, it was Neurofunk. So when I hear like a lot of modern neuro, it's pretty hard and punishing, and it's like the metal version of D&B, and that's cool. People are into that. I'm not really into that, but I am into Neurofunk, especially like a lot of the early sounds of Neurofunk, particularly like Ed Russian Optical LP called Wormhole's amazing, like life-changing and groundbreaking at the time. So what I've done today is within the vein of that. The drums are within the vein of that, and the bass sounds are within the vein of that. Nonetheless, make sure that you like and subscribe. Over half of you haven't, which means you're watching the videos and you're not subscribing. If you're watching this content, welcome. And it also makes a really big difference if you do subscribe. So if you like it, please do. All right, anyway, let's get into the video. Okay, for this first patch I've put together, I've called it React. Really exciting title for that one. I don't care. I was just making a name for a patch. Anyway, let's get into it. So the first thing I've done is I've made this patch with this wavetable, which is out of my own users. I made this from an 808 that I made. Really, really dirty one. So I decided to turn it into a wavetable. So when you hear it played back, you can kind of hear that original sound. Okay, and then what we've done is we've routed it through LFO1 to play through the wavetable. So LFO1, I've built this shape. Looks a bit hickledy-pickledy, but you know, as you're playing through, you're just cutting in lines that kind of sound right for the tone that you're building and just following your instinct. Okay, so first up, we've got that. We've dropped it down an octave, and we've also got a sub layer, just a simple sine wave. Important to note, the randomize feature is down, so we're not randomizing the phase. It's always starting from the 0 point crossing. Okay, then we go over to oscillator B. Now, oscillator B, the volume level is down. It's not actually bringing a signal through, but what it is doing is it's acting as a form of modulator, or should I say an operator in this case, for frequency modulation. So if we look over here on LFO2, we've just got this dead line, and then we've got this curved hump at the end. So what's actually happening is I play it through, the FM's going to kick in. Okay, now straight away you want to look at the settings here of the actual octave and semitone. So we've got it pitched up 1 octave, and we've pitched it up 7 semitones. So basically what that is like playing a 5th chord, but we've raised it up further up the register by octaves, and that's giving us that tone at the end. Okay, then we're going to apply the filter. So I've applied the low EQ 12, and I've dialed it in, and it's only affecting oscillator A because that's the only thing that we're shaping. We've got the resonance dialed up to about 41%. We're not adding any drive. And actually, if you play with this filter, it's actually the volume level from the source driving into that filter will change how that sounds. So you want to consider this when you're actually working with these filters, to maybe not adjust drive, but look at how much level you're driving into that filter. Okay, and then we've got this decibel plus minus thing here, and that just changes the shape. Okay, so I've got that shape there. Okay, and so you can hear straight away we've got a more closed off rounded signal on those harmonics. So on modulator 1, okay, we've got this macro knob assigned to that filter, and that gives us some control over the texture. If we move through into our effects section, we've added in some hyper dimension, no hyper, just the dimension. So what that does is it adds a kind of pseudo width to it, because the original signal we've got is in mono. So that just adds some space around it. Then I've got some distortion, which I've used the sine fold. Now the sine fold drive is only at a little bit here, 8%, because it gets pretty wild when you start pushing it. Okay, so we want to keep that down at 8%. And then we've used the filter pre, which is pre the distortion signal. So you can either choose pre or post. So when you select pre, it filters first and then it runs into the distortion. And so what that does is it rounds off those harmonics on the top, but the distortion will add in some harmonic overtones off the back of that. If you then choose to use post, then everything's going to hit the distortion and then it's going to hit the filter. So everything you round off after that is going to basically be shaved off. So depending on the intent of what you're trying to design with the sound, you'll want to consider whether you're using pre or post filter if you're using it at all. Okay, then we've got some reverb, and we've just got a plate reverb. We've got low cut on there because we don't want to be adding in any low end reverb to that because it just makes things sound messy. And then we've got a bit of high cut, slight bit of damping, and then we've added on some width at about 61%. And then I've got a delay. Now the delay, you'll see here on this little cue, this is a filter. So this affects where the signal is capturing that delay signal. So it's just a little bit. If I turn it up, you can hear it panning, just some little ghosts. So that's just in there for a little bit of texture and spatial magic wonder for the sound. I can't think today. All right, and then we've got a compressor. So we've gone with some multi-band compressor, and we're driving the gain into it quite hard. We're pushing up the low end, but we're being mindful of the mids and certainly the highs. The multi-band compressor can really hype up these high bits. Okay. And you'll see that it's going red a little bit because I'm driving the gain into it, and I don't mind. I want to get that kind of rough, edgy sound. And then finally we come over to the EQ. Now the EQ has got two bands. We've basically got a positive notch over here, and we've got a negative notch down here in the lower mids. And what I've done is I've assigned LFO3, and they're moving in opposing directions. And what that gives us is this really cool sort of multi-band notch and bandpass filter at the same time. So that adds a lot of texture, okay? And then we've got that filter that I applied here on the oscillator page, the low EQ12. But remember, this is being applied before all of the effects, so it's not rounding it off. If you wanted to, and you wanted to have that kind of ability to just shave off with a sort of classic low pass filter, you could choose a 12 decibels per octave, and then you can move that around and have that classic kind of synth type filter. Okay, so it's really up to you what you do. I'm going to leave that off for now, but if I want it, it's there and I can apply it. Okay, moving on. Let's go to our next sound. All right, for our next sound, we're working with a womp. okay, but not like a womp like that you typically hear in sort of jump up. This is more a womp for a Neurofunk type sound. If you're into that, you might not be, but I'm going to do it. So we've got a wavetable here. It's called the Creeper, okay, and I'm not using an LFO to sweep through the different wavetables. Could do that if I wanted to. But actually what I've used is the wavetable as an oscillation source, and I've selected a specific frame with a tone that I like, which in the end was this one. Pitch down 1 octave, we've got this in a unison of 3, and we've got the randomize feature all the way down. So we're not randomizing where it starts in the cycle. It's starting bang on 0, okay? Then for our next source, we've got oscillator B, and we've just got a standard saw wave. We've used unison on this as well, and we've got 3 voices doing that. Now what you'll notice straight away is there's grit to it, and that's because I'm assigning the frequency modulation from oscillator A. So this creeper is feeding into this, so that I've done this to kind of blend and glue these sounds together. Okay. If we move over to the filter, I've gone for the French low pass. The French low pass is quite a cool filter if you haven't used it before. I like it. It's got all the standards, cutoff and resonance, but it's also got the drive feature, and it's got booth. Booth? French, you want some booth in your filter? Anyhow, that's there, and that's also set to follow the key tracking, so that means the cutoff position will move relative to where the key is sitting. Important to note that I'm actually only filtering oscillator B. So I'm not filtering oscillator A, I'm letting all those harmonic textures through, okay? If I added oscillator A, like you just heard, it would start to sound really rolled off. So I want to let A pass through. Now, if we move over to our effects section, before we do that actually, we want to add our sub-oscillator, right? And then we go through to the effects section. So first thing, hyperdimension again, no unison, just the hyper. Then we've got distortion, and this time I've gone for tape saturation, and I've used filtering post the filter. Now you'll notice it starts to have that wompy sound. And the reason for that is I have this filter assigned to the filter cutoff of the distortion module, and I'm also assigning it to the resonance module, or as it says, Q, which is the same as resonance. And how I got that was I was just moving this around as I was hitting the keys, doing this kind of thing. And I was like, actually, I'm going to turn this into a womp. And there's a reason I did this, which I'll explain later on. Okay, then I've got some delay, same principle again. I've just taken these like little top frequencies. And the reason for that is because on here, on the French low pass, I have got my macro 1 assigned to the cutoff frequency on this. So as I move it, it changes the tone of the sound. So when it opens up those upper harmonic tones, they get caught by the delay, and they will also get caught by the reverb. Okay, so that's adding some space and some vibe into the sound. And then we go through to a compressor. Again, we've gone for some multiband. All right, just to add some punch and tone and thickness and just shape the sound how we want. And then I've got an EQ. And the EQ is just doing a bit of a boost, a nice open curve over the upper mids, just to open up the sound, particularly when it's rolled off. It still gets those mid frequencies through. And we've just got a little bit of a dip around 200 hertz just to take out some boominess. So that makes the sound pretty tight. So that's how we've put together these two sounds. Let's hear what it sounds like with some drums. All right then, let's see what this sounds like. Quick sketch. Enjoy. Don't forget to put the funk back in the neuro. Anyway, that's the jam. Hope you guys have enjoyed this today. By the way, bass riff, I use the macros on the synth. And just so you're aware, there is absolutely no effects on either of the bass patches that I created. Normally, if I was working on a track, I would. But that just goes to show a good source sound makes all the difference. Anyway, catch you guys next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and make sure that you go to dnbartist.com and sign up for my email list. Catch you next time.